Hey fellas, Dan Brokos from Lead Faucet Tactical Trijicon Pro Staff. Today's Trijicon training tips, we're going to talk about the pros and cons and the reasons, environments, and situations you would choose a pistol optic with a single dot and a pistol optic with a complex reticle. All right, let's talk about our complex reticle. This RMR HD has a 3.25 center with a 55-minute angle segmented circle on the outside. My really situation and environments I would use this is I call them the top four. Is one, for novice shooters, where we don't have the fundamentals of our draw stroke down, and two, a segmented circle allows for corrections when we drive the gun out, whether it's from position 3 or full draw stroke. So those two kind of go hand in hand. You have that guy brand new to shooting red knots and he's trying to find the red dot. We should be focusing on the target, but we have a tendency to try to look through the optic, and that segmented circle will bring up our corrections and sort of magnify them and allow us to dial in our fundamentals of our draw stroke and presentation shooting red dots on a pistol. So it's a great training tool and tool for that. The third reason is I love this reticle. When I teach a vehicle class, I always use my segmented circle option on my RMR HD. Sometimes you get into unconventional positions, whether it be one hand, stronger support, rollover work. My line of sight is not lined up with my bore axis, and how I perceive the target and the red dot has to be aligned in order to get a hit. I love this reticle because I may only have a window this far underneath the vehicle to do it, and sometimes I can't really focus on my target directly, and you sort of have to look through your optic in certain situations, and that segmented circle allows me to adjust my eyes, find my correction and error, adjust my head, put my dot dead center, and I'm gonna get my hits. Hey, my last situation or reason for liking a segmented circle or complex dot is if I'm in a contingency position where I'm down to one arm or one hand and I have to shoot stronger support, there's no way if I'm firing 10 rounds that my reticle is going to stay in view of me and my target on my splits between shots, and catching the outer peripheral, upper peripheral of that segmented circle will allow me to drive that and find that center dot and get my hits on target. All right, some of the situations and environments I would choose a single dot over a complex reticle is, and when you're an intermediate advanced shooter, and I got to make a real-time decision with a fast draw, and our eyes don't like to focus a lot of things, and I love a single dot because it allows my presentation only to focus on my target, and a single dot comes into play compared to a segmented circle or outer ring and some of these other reticles. So real-time situations, I gotta turn on the gas. I love a single dot. Also, in refined targets or small kill zones, not every time in reality are we presented with a front shot, maybe a 3 or 4 inch circle if you're target plinking or something like that, and having a single dot to focus your eyes on a small target is really useful with just having a single dot no matter what size it is. Third is distance. I'd say 25 meters back to 50 when you're trying to hit an 8-inch circle or something like that, or clear a plate rack. I love having a single small dot. It really doesn't confuse my mind and eyes, and I can really focus on my target, and the dot comes into play without anything else in my peripheral. Last is, for me, limited visibility, whether that's running a white light or NVGs. A lot of the time, military law enforcement, you're running NVGs, and these are great optics for running NVGs. It collects light very well, and sometimes when you pull it on out, I like a single dot right there, and especially if you don't have it autofocus adjusted, you can get by with a single dot, but sometimes on some of these complex reticles, that segmented circle is too close to that dot. It looks like one huge 25-minute angled dot on there. So I like a single dot under nods and white light shooting. And we talked about my top 4 for a complex reticle and top 4 for a red dot. So really, I didn't really talk about pros and cons because they have their advantages and disadvantages of each. I would say this: know your optic. At some point in time, it's like, hey, I may be running a segmented circle or a complex reticle, and I have to make a 30-meter engagement where I just said, hey, I like a smaller dot. Well, I'm not expecting you to adjust on the fly, but train and know your optic. And there's nothing wrong with adjusting on the fly. I know this RMR HD pretty well. I've had it for quite a while before it got dropped, and I practice that all the time, moving from position of cover to cover. Can I adjust this thing? And people are like, I don't know about that. Well, it's the same thing as a throw lever on a 1x6 or 1x8. Man, there's a throw lever there for a reason. So, hey, know your optic. No matter which one you choose, practice both. Because nowadays, a lot of the reticles, like the RMR HD, have a single dot and a complex reticle in them. I really call the RMR HD has 2.5 reticles, because my favorite reticle is a bright center and a very dim outer segmented circle. That's what I shoot in contingencies and around vehicles. Also, make sure on your complex reticle that you get the right reticle. Last point, what I like about the RMR HD is single dot, 55-minute angle ring. There's a lot of dispersion between that center and that outer ring, which is good. I'm not saying I don't shoot it at night, I practice all, but some of these reticles out there have a very, very tight outer ring and a center dot. It makes it almost look as one. So this is built correctly, and it's probably one of my favorite optics to shoot out there. In fact, it is my favorite pistol optic, the RMR HD. I would say choose wisely. Make sure nowadays that I think any pistol optic with a single dot and a complex reticle is the way to go.